get out pretty. There's Melissa.
Well,
All
hey,
right.
thanks, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa. All right, there we go. Man, this is one of the great thrills of my life. To be totally honest with you, not very often do I get to talk to a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member and one of the greatest guitar players ever to live. So, Mr. Ed O'Brien, thank you so much for all that you've done for, the world and especially music. It's an honor to talk to you.
Honestly, Brad, you are too kind. I don't actually walk around with those things in my head that you just said. So
this is how you and I are different, because if I had them, boy, oh boy. I find you releasing an album right now with all the things that are happening around the world to be kind of apropos. You are a pretty thoughtful man. And Radiohead has forever been a pretty thoughtful band. I don't guess that a global pandemic was thought of when you started putting together inspirations for an album and a tour, etc.
No, it wasn't. But the record comes from a place. It's a big-hearted record. It comes from my heart. And one of the themes in the record was, I was trying to get to a place on parts of the record, that feeling of love and joy, that when life is reduced to, I had in my head when there's a crisis, and I was really moved by this, and when, for want of a better word, when the shit hits the fan, I really wanted to get to that place where how powerful music can be. Because for me in my life, and I'm sure everybody's life, that's a really important moment. And I wanted to get to that raw place. And what are the things that you feel? Well, love for your planet, love for your community, love for your family, your friends. And that's a genuine place that I was trying to get to on this record. That was one of the themes. So it was, it's weird it's strange how things happen. And I was like, a friend of mine emailed me today, and she said, and she's got breast cancer. And she said, I'm really loving Brazil, but I can't hear the words. Can you write them out for me? I was like, this bad dream has got me. It's in you. It's in me. Falling like I'm falling. I was like, oh my God, I can see how those words might resonate more at the moment in a funny kind of way. So,
well, that's the funny thing about, writing albums about things like love, is that they last for a long time, even through pandemics and, terror attacks and any sort of horror through the world.
It's what we come back to. And I always remember, like, it really struck me, like those awful stories about, when 9/11 happened and that plane was going down, and people on the plane were texting their loved ones, and they were just saying, I love you. I love you. And they were knowing that they were about to die. And I still find that, I still get a spine tingle saying that. That's the human spirit. That's, and so much of this is the other thing for me, that, when I was writing this album, we're bombarded in our media by how awful we are to one another, how destructive we are. And certainly that we do have a very destructive side. But I was interested in also focusing on that kind of love and the joy and the potential and the possibility of what we can do when we're a force for good and we come together. And, I really believe that. And we can see it happening. I can see it in our own country right now at 8:00 tonight. Everybody stands on the steps in front by their door, because we're in isolation. They go outside, stand by their door, and they all clap. And everyone around the country is clapping at 8:00 this evening for our health workers, our key workers. And do you know what? That's an amazing thing. That's such a beautiful moment.
Why, yes, it's an interesting part of, time. Time is really, really weird right now. But why now? Through all of it, 30 years with Radiohead, why was the time now for your first solo project?
Do you know what? There's a part that I can literally say, which is the kind of the functional part, which goes, it was the first time in 2012 it was the first time I had some time to actually do this. You know, before my kids were born. My kids were born in 2004. And up until then, Radiohead had been pretty full on. I mean, Tom's first solo project, The Atoms for Peace, The Erasure, came out in 2004. So that was the first time there was a possibility to do a solo project. But then I was fully immersed in fatherhood and being a hands-on father. So there's that part. But also there's another part, which is you don't explain. And it's a bit like falling in love. You never know when you're going to fall in love. In fact, you almost always fall in love when you least expect it. If you're looking to fall in love, you know, it
you fall in
usually
love with all the wrong things.
Yeah, but when you truly fall in love, and to me, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same moment as, you know, seeing my wife for the first time, which was really love at first sight. It's incredible. And this thing with the music was just like, suddenly it was here and it was just like, whoa, it was like, you know, it's like the tractor beam on the Death Star pulling you in, except it wasn't the Death Star. It was the Love and Light Star.
Is that how, let me put it this way. When Radiohead goes to make an album, are they as a group thinking the same way as you are releasing this album, in that the time will be right and the time will show you, and when it's ready, this is when it's going to happen?
It's very different because, like, you know, Radiohead, you know, of course, Tom is the primary songwriter, but it is a five-headed beast. You know, it's always been like that. So, you know, we're all very different, and that's been part of our strength. And we all kind of push and pull in different ways. So it happens, I think, with solo projects, and I think that's one of the reasons that people like solo projects at first so much. There's a lot less friction.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Your point of view, your expression is manifested a lot quicker and a lot smoother in a solo project, whereas in a band project, you know, it's obviously, you know, it's heightened. There's more input, but you know, it does come out at the end as a band. And I think what's interesting in the early days as a band, when you're together, so we're signed as a band at the end of 1991. We really don't stop until the summer of 1998. And then we have about 2-3 months off, and then we go in to make Kid A. But we don't stop properly. We had a year off in 2004. And when you spend that much time together and you do have all these similar experiences together, you do start thinking the same way. And then what happens is that families happen, and, you know, you spend less and less time with the band because you've got this family that comes along and you want to spend, and that's when you will go off and you have different experiences. And when you come back together again, you're not as together as you once were. So, I mean, I think that's one reason why, you know, in the last 10 years, Radiohead have only made 2 albums. It's a very natural thing.
The idea that, and when Radiohead makes albums, though, they don't just make albums. I mean, it's pretty remarkable that 30 years can go by and you guys will be the biggest deal of the year. That doesn't really happen with bands that are, you know, 30 years deep. I mean, that's the impact that Radiohead has had. But to get there, I gotta imagine it takes a massively different headspace than to write a solo album that you know, that just came out of you when you finally had a moment, sounds like, to yourself. So how do you go from that headspace to the other? And I gotta imagine it's like an actor almost trying to shake off a different character sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just, first of all, you should be aware that when I don't think any of us are aware of, when you say, like, when we release an album, it's an event, we don't actually think of it like that. It feels kind of normal in one way, very normal, and something we've been doing for a while. But how do you do it? How do you get into that headspace? I mean, the headspace for me in Radiohead has been, for the best part of 25, 30 years, it's like a reflex. So it's very, very easy to fall back into. It's like a habit. It's like an old habit. With a new album, that was the thing that I had to find, and I had to kind of separate myself emotionally from Radiohead. I had to get over the fact that my reflex, my instinct was, What do the others think? And I realized after about 2 months, it's like, they're not even here. And do you know what? I don't, I shouldn't be worrying what they think, because if I do that, then I'm not fully expressing myself. And it was really, really important. I think that's the thing that I learned most of all. I had this mantra that, like, so halfway through the record, I come back from the last Radiohead tour in 2018, the summer, and we'd done a North American tour, been fabulous. And I'd already worked on my album for 4 or 5 months. And I haven't listened to it for about 8 weeks. I thought I'd come back to it and we were going to do the final push in the studio. It's going to be mixed, in October. And I listened to the songs, and I was just like, oh my God, this is shit. What the hell have I been doing?
Oh no.
And it was a brilliant moment, because it is those moments, and I'm sure you and your listeners recognize this. Sometimes in your life, a crisis can be an amazing, it's like the dark night of the soul. It's the thing when you truly, fully awaken, and you awaken to a truth or a self-revelation or whatever, you realize something. And I woke to the fact that I was just like, I haven't been truthful about how I really feel.
Mm.
And for me, the mantra became, so what is my truth? And daily it became a really important thing in the studio. It's like, what is my truth? What am I really feeling here? I'm working with great people. I've got Floods and Catherine Marks, these incredible engineers and producers. But ultimately, it has to come down to what I feel. And so that's the thing that I had to learn. And because that's not a place that I've naturally inhabited. That's not a place that I've been fully comfortable with.
It sounds like a tad bit of vulnerability.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I think that's what I've loved about this whole process is I've been supremely out of my comfort zone, and it is a vulnerable place. But you see, I heard a great quote the other day that kind of sums it up about art. It says, art is not about perfection. Art is about the truth. Now, that's not saying there is the truth. That's a truth, the truth of the creator.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you have to get. And I think in order to get to that point, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be, stuff happens, and you have to be out of your comfort zone. That's Bowie said that. Bowie said that's the only place you've got to be. And I think that's been the case with Radiohead, the different records we made. It's been a constant out of your comfort zone. And that's not a natural place for a human being to want to reside in, but it's really good for creativity.
I bet. And when you got there in 2018 and you looked and heard the things that you had your reaction to, what did you do with them? How many of them actually made it to the album? Did you
They all
scrap
made
it
it.
all? They all
No,
made
they
it.
all made it. So what I did was I
Wow.
went through each song, and they would layer upon layer. And I had like 5 different versions of each song. And I started with the demo, the very first thing. And I was just like, okay, I'm feeling it here. I'm not feeling it, that version. And literally, whatever I felt, whether I was getting an emotional, kind of musical response, then that's where I started. And it was amazing. Once I followed that path, we got into this incredible, Shangri-La was the first day back. It was basically finished within 2 days, and it was sounding like a kind of, I don't know, a sonic nightmare. And it was like cleaning it out, like boom, 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 it's got to do this. And it's amazing. Once you get to that place, things fall into place as well.
I wonder that is so fascinating that you said that it's about the truth, because it was the truth that was real to you at the time. And then you sort of figured out where the songs needed to be. I wonder if you go back, maybe not back, you'll forward in 2 years and see the songs again, how they would change if you were to rewrite them based on the truth you were feeling at that moment.
Oh yeah, well the truth, of course, constantly changes. The truth one year is, so for me, it's been interesting because I've had these songs finished for a year, and I then had to find a record company and the right people to work with. And now it's on release. There's this very interesting kind of creative thing that happens. I was so happy with it when I finished. I'm really happy with it. It's just like I've fulfilled the potential of the songs, and now I'm like going, oh, I do it a bit differently now. And that is something I recognize from Radiohead. It's like, even when OK Computer comes out, you go like, yeah, it's good, but we can do better. Same thing with Kid A. It's just like, you know what? We need something a bit more
That's
alive. We make Hail to the Thief. In Rainbows comes out. It's like,
yeah.
we really need to make a record that's like as good as the Benz and OK Computer. And that's the artistic way. So the thing is to be truthful to how you feel at the time, because it would be an impossibility to say this is the truth.
Sure.
It's just a moment.
I tell you, I couldn't be more excited about this project. I think Shangri-La is fantastic. I don't know where it fell in the whole songwriting process. When it first, last, it doesn't matter. It's a great song. I think I was, my interest was piqued when I heard EOB and Ed O'Brien was releasing an album. Then I heard the reviews that came out of your first Chicago show.
Right.
And the way that people were reacting to the live show, I think is what put me over the edge, excited about this project. When you write something like you did with this album, how often are you putting in the live feel for it? Like when you write something, are you thinking about how it's going to transcribe on stage, whether it's at the Metro in Chicago or the House of
Yeah.
Blues in New Orleans or Bonnaroo when you play in the fall?
It's interesting with some songs I get, so for instance, on songs like Olympic and Shangri-La and Brazil, when it's in focus and when it's really working in the studio, there are moments when you think about you feel it in front of an audience and you go, yeah, and you're not making it for the audience. But I've always liked albums. One of the things, and I felt it was kind of important because the live thing is really important to me. It's that direct connection with the audience. I love albums where it's almost you hear it and you go, oh, I've got to go and see that live. It's like an invitation. So for instance, I really love the Foles record, Holy Fire, and I think they make a lot of great records. But that record for me was like, when I first, that was my kind of introduction to Foles. I was a bit late, but I was like, oh my God, that first song, Prelude, I was just like, this is going to open a gig. And sure enough, it was like an invitation to, it's going to be an emotional, energetic, vibrant, vital show.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm kind of aware. I don't think you make music necessarily for live, but definitely on this record, I was just like, I want this to feel like an invitation to come and be together.
And so, but first off, I mean, finally, not first off, but as we close, I can't thank you enough. I'm so excited for this project. I can't believe I've got Ed O'Brien in my living room. This is very, very strange. I'm not going to lie to you. But yeah, I mean it when I say it. There's a few people in modern music right now that you can honestly say changed the course of modern music. And you guys, you're five of them. So to have one
Wow.
of them talk to us is, I mean, I can't thank you enough, and I can't tell you how excited I am to finally see this show at Bonnaroo.
Thanks, Brad.
I'm a huge music festival fan, so a guy like you could be one of the greatest guitar players to ever exist, but yet on the farm, there's so many at Bonnaroo. There's 15 other things to watch at one time. I mean, we tragically just lost John Prine a couple of days ago, and there might have been 1,200 people at that show, at the John Prine show. I am imploring anybody and everyone, if this world gets back to normal and there is a live performance happening in the fall of any kind, please see this DOB show. I'm very, very excited about seeing this live show. So yeah. By the way, speaking of the live show, are you bringing any of the people that you worked with you on the road?
No,
if there is a road.
No, but I have to say, we have a native of New Orleans, my drummer, my friend, Alvin Ford Jr., who's extraordinary drummer, an extraordinary person. And if any of your listeners know Alvin, tell him I miss him and I love him and I hope he's all right in the family. I sent him a text today, so I hope he's all right. But listen, Brad, thank you. I mean, when you say stuff like that, I was just like, I need to speak to this guy when my kids are shouting about what a lousy father I am. I'm like, I should get you on the phone and pass you over and said, hey guys, listen to Brad. Listen to what he has to say.
Hey Ed, you can use whatever I say on your resume. Believe me.
Thank you, Brad. Listen, I hope you stay safe and well, and big love to all your listeners, and I hope they all, come together, and I hope it all works out.
You as well, and we're glad that you're feeling better.
Thanks, man. Thank
Yeah.
you. Good luck.
Thank you. See you soon.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.